Well, hello, everybody. This is Crystalline, Cowgirl Astrologer, and I wanted to come talk to you guys today about a really interesting subject that just keeps coming to my doorstep. And so, with all this amazing energy down in Scorpio, it allows us to look deeper into the truth about things. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity because I found myself the last couple days really going on kind of a bunny trail of an in-depth study of the subject that I've titled Cult Leaders. What are they? And is there a link to astrology? Can we see patterns? And I was blown away when I started looking up some charts of historical cult leaders. And some of the up-and-coming spiritual gurus out there right now that are just, I have to be honest, okay? I have to be honest because I know what's going on out here in YouTube land, and it's part of my job. It's part of what I do. Being that I just graduated from Full Sail University in creative writing program, we had to do a lot of research. So as I was doing research for school, I also was doing astrological research as I was looking at what's going on right now. Okay, so first of all, let me kind of tell you about what's going on right now in our world astrologically. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the fact that we've got Saturn in Scorpio. Okay, still for a couple more months here. We're getting really close to Christmas time. December 24th, I believe, is the date. We're getting ready to move out, but Saturn and Scorpio is still bringing up the truth. So if you've noticed, there's been a lot of controversy about public figures that are coming up. There's been a lot of questioning about motives, and people are getting called out. We're just seeing the truth, what people's motives are. So when we're talking about somebody that we're following, first of all, let's just say following somebody is not bad. Following somebody or having somebody that inspires you, or the way that they share, the way that they communicate, the way that they share, something that you identify with. If they're feeding that, then that's wonderful. It's, these astrological charts that I'm looking at are very powerful. And they can also represent a good leader. Okay, so when I talk about some of these little indicators, I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I have that. Does that mean I'm going to be, possibly be a cult leader? Well, no. We have to go into a whole astrological account, but there is some patterns here. So I just want to give you guys a little tip on them. If you want to go further and more in depth into the study with me, and where I show you how to look, then that's something I can offer in a private class. But for today, I want to give you guys all a little bit of a tool for yourselves. Okay, so first of all, you want to look at a couple of things. There's very specific patterns, even if you know nothing about astrology. Okay, there's very specific patterns to somebody that gains control over your life. Okay, because the fact is that we all want community. We all want to be a part of something. We all want to contribute. We all want to volunteer to a cause. Again, those things aren't bad. But when a leader goes bad, when a leader starts to use mind control or form of manipulation, or has an ulterior motive, or even if it's just for full-blown ego gratification, the power of it. When you start to see that happen, you will also see the followers become weaker and more dependent and unable to express their voice. Okay, so let's just look at some red flags here for a minute. If you are following somebody, and at first, this person is going to be extremely magnetizing because they have this power. And they're going to speak words of truth. It's deceptive because they're speaking truthful words. And many times they're so charismatic that we hear the words and we identify with them. Okay. And soon we're having life changes because the words are still true. So the words in and of themselves have power, okay? But now we have to look a little deeper into the integrity of the person that, and the you know, what is the intention of this person? Because people that gain large followings, I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you have the best intentions, you know, there's a lot of power with it. And your words become very powerful. I mean, anything you say and everybody goes, oh, you know, yeah, you know, it's really, that's when my red flags come up, because I want to actually hear what somebody's saying, and I want to have the ability to respond or decide if I agree or if that's exactly how I see it. And I want to have the freedom to express that in any group that I'm in. So if you're in a group right now and you're finding that you've lost your voice, okay, that's a red flag. Or that if you express a question or yourself in any way, or you disagree in any way, what happens? Are you attacked by the followers? Are you attacked by the leader? Are you put down? Do they use their spiritual knowledge to humiliate you? And that's a huge red flag, because many of these leaders are extremely intelligent. Okay, they're very, very intelligent. There's no doubt, or they wouldn't be in that position. But many of them mimic the truth, but they don't quite have it authentically within themselves. But they can talk about it, and they can do it with passion. And they're smart enough to know, they're smarter than the average person. So they know how to manipulate the system. They can mimic a successful person and become successful. You know, they're smart. You know, so let's take a look briefly here a minute at a couple. I just did a few I'm going to talk about, because like I said, this gets kind of crazy. I looked at Jim Jones. You guys remember his story? You can look it up on Google. Might be before your time, but you can look up Jim Jones. I'm also looking at Charles Manson, because he was able to do, you know, have intense mind control to the point of having his followers kill somebody. Okay, they'll kill for the leader. If you're having that feeling that you would die for somebody you're following, there's something wrong. You know, if you are, you know, justifying their behavior and sticking up for them and fighting the world for them, you know, you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to, you know, they should be able to handle their own stuff, okay? Because usually the anger is not about that you're protecting the person. It's that there might be a shred of truth in that, but now you have connected to that person and have lost the ability yourself to inspire yourself. You become reliant on these leaders, okay? These leaders want you to rely on them. So one of the first things they do is they begin to tear down who you are in their teachings, or they begin to isolate you from your family. Somehow your family and all these problems that they gave you is why you have all these problems. Well, yeah, let's blame it on our family, you know. Now, that's not to say that there are not true scenarios of people that went through very tragic things in their childhood. And I'm very compassionate about that. And I think that a lot of times we spend the second half of our life trying to heal from the first half of our life. And I think we all go through that to some degree, some more than others. But they play on that vulnerability because they need to become the new parental force in your life. Okay, that's the manipulation that you see. I also took a look at Joseph Smith. Many of you guys know he's a leader of the Mormon Church. And at 13 years old, he had a, you know, message from an angel that went against everything that was going on at that time, the traditional ways of Christianity. He got a special message that only he could get, and created himself into a prophet status. Because when you're the only one who gets that message, people idolize you. And so at 13 years old, he got this message. So, okay, But this message basically isolated, took a community, took them away from everything they knew, and they built a new community, okay? And they only had the very special of all specials connection with God, okay? So you just see these patterns over and over again. In these patterns that I'm seeing, in the three that I looked at, Charles Manson, Jim Jones, and Joseph Smith, they all had the moon in Aquarius. Okay, I thought that was really interesting. Now, if you have the moon in Aquarius, don't freak out. Okay, it's a very powerful energy to have the moon in Aquarius, though, because your emotions are tied to this deep ego of knowing who you are. The beautiful thing about a moon in Aquarius is somebody that does know who they are. And they have that confidence, and they know they're special, and they don't need other people to necessarily fulfill that. But the power often, again, with a lot of other lineups, can get really wild, okay? And that power of feeling godlike, it can also become delusionary, okay? We can be born during times where there's very delusional transits going on. I'll get into that more in a different study, but just know that we have a shadow side. We have a positive side. You know, these energies can go a lot of different ways, but I did think it was interesting. They all shared the moon in Aquarius, and they became godlike figures. Okay, so you guys can do what you want with that. The other interesting thing about all three of these in particular is that they all had the Sun and Mercury conjunct. Okay, so you've got the ego and you've got the mind in conjunction. When you have your sun sign and you have a different energy and Mercury, it kind of can balance that out. You might have your ego, like for myself, I have the Sun in Virgo, but I have Mercury in Libra. So it's like, yes, I'm very Virgonian in my own head and my own drive, but when it comes out my mouth, I want to show everybody both sides of it. It doesn't come out of my mouth the way it's in my head. It comes out differently, which I'm glad. I'm glad that it can come out differently. But in these cases, they had the Sun and Mercury in conjunction. In most of these cases, there was more than that going on. For Charles Manson, he had the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, all conjunct in Scorpio. Okay, so we saw him in when this turned bad, this energy turned negative, toxic, however you want to call it, when this went out of control, he had the desire of controlling people's psychological level. You know, they became so dependent on him that they couldn't have a thought of their own. Okay, so he was attracted to that psychological control. But you see these heavy, long, conjunctions here. He also had the moon and Saturn in Aquarius. Okay, so Saturn being the father, the discipline, the controlling energy with the mind in Aquarius. You've got really this godlike figure now controlling psychologically. Okay, again, just giving you guys some food for thought. There's a lot more going on here. And if you guys look up their chart and want to add to this, I would love to hear your observations, because I want to get you guys thinking for yourselves, exploring this for yourselves. Okay, so we see this combination very clearly of Sun and Mercury conjunction. Joseph Smith had the moon and Venus in Aquarius conjunct, and he had Sun, Mercury, Mars, Lilith, and the North Node in Capricorn. So there you go with this strong energy. Now, you guys know the Mormon Church was one of the most financially secure, religious outfits of all time, still probably is. And you just see the structure in the church and the structure in the teachings and it's very Capricornian. So it has a lot of Capricorn energy to it, a lot of Saturn energy to it. I know I do goofy things like that to entertain myself. So, these are just some things to think about. Okay, so what I want to say is right now, okay, as we speak, the internet is going crazy with all of us coming out with our messages. You know, I'm out here with my message, my life experience, feeling like I have something to offer through my years and years and years of, you know, studying and hands-on experience. I'm finally finding a platform for it. So that's really great. There's a lot of people doing that. But in these cases where you're seeing, especially through YouTube, these, you know, very young spiritual gurus rising to the top in a very short amount of time, it questions. First I question, so, well, what are they doing? Well, then when I look and see what they're doing, I'm amazed. I read the comments and I see the followers. And if anybody makes like a negative comment at all, it's like everybody attacks that person. They get deleted. And I'm not talking about, you know, really rude comments. I'm talking about, hey, having a question, or I'm not sure, or I don't know, or expressing their opinion, which if we're out here in public, we have to be willing to allow that. And if, you know, even for myself, when I get kind of different messages or somebody question me, I go, oh my gosh, did I, you know, I question myself. Did I say that right? Sometimes I go back in the video and, you know, I make mistakes too. I want you guys to listen. Now, some things are just, you know, innocent mistake. Most of the time with astrology, you know, the 4th house, the 5th house, you know, we can do that. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about contradictory behavior. A lot of these teachers, like I said, you know, they're very studied because Sun and Mercury conjunct. Think about it, the ego and the mind, it's brilliant. So they are studying, but remember this too. Mercury knows how to mimic, okay? Mercury knows how to mimic. So people can talk the talk, but they don't necessarily know how to walk the walk. I mean, walking the walk is a completely different thing. I struggle every day to walk the walk of the things that I believe and I'm working on, and it is not easy. It is not easy. If anybody tells you it is easy, if you follow these 3 steps and you follow my rules and you live and breathe me, you'll be able to have success. You better put your flags up, okay? Because it's dangerous to put everything, all your motivation and all your thought process and all your intuitions in the hands of anybody, okay? Because it's just dangerous. You have to have that self-knowing, and you have to keep your voice. A lot of these programs right now, a lot of these things, including myself talking about astrology, I mean, we go deep into some psychological stuff. I mean, it's interesting that we have this ability, but very few people who are coming out and getting these mass followings have any credibility, credits, life experience, you know, schooling, education, any of those things to back this up. Now, there are those out there that do. And if you're seeing that and you're feeling right, and when you leave watching a video or following somebody, you leave more empowered as a person, then that's a good thing. I have a lot of people I follow and listen to, but they let me think for myself. They let me come to my own conclusion. Do not let anybody come to a conclusion for you. Do not let anybody tell you, you know, what you need to do, or put everything in a psychological package and then you suddenly now are in this box and you're doubting yourself. If you're doubting yourself, if you're following somebody and you're doubting yourself, get some good friends around you who know you, your people, your friends, there's somebody, and talk about it. Get it out in the open, because they will isolate you. You will soon, in these situations, they want to get you in this communal family. That if you're in this family and you only need me, suddenly you have this strong sense of belonging, because it's great to feel like we're in a family. We are communal people. We're communal humans. We love family. We love communities. We love being a part of a movement. Again, that's not bad in and of itself. But if you are in a group now where you have put yourself under a title and you can't think outside of that, or if there's anybody questioning, you can't listen to that, and you can't listen to what they're saying. And if you start hearing things like, oh, these people are just jealous, or these people want what our leader has, or, or they start coming to the defense in a personal way, especially you don't even know this person. Most times you don't even know this person personally. Those are just things to look at. We shouldn't have to do that. If we are doing that, if we're isolating ourselves and the only ones we're talking to are people within one community and we have no other way of, looking at things, I just say be careful. Be careful. I think you should question things. I think you should question everything. You should question what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking to people in astrology, so you guys know, that, we look for these things when we're doing a chart. But I, right off the bat, have said that, these energies can also be great in someone's chart. So if you have them, they can be powerful, and I want you to know about that power. But I'm going to show you some patterns of people that had these powerful energies and didn't do the right thing for them. Do they have the ability to know? Are they purposely manipulating? Or are they driven by such a strong, insecurity or need for ego, or, are they narcissistic? All those questions we're still exploring those things. We don't know all those answers. Do they really know what they're doing? They may not, but they are driven, and something doesn't quite go right, because to keep their followers, they have to break them down. And they have to, they have to present themselves as some type of out of this earth. They only have this special connection with God, and they're the only ones. And that sets them apart. That makes them special. And you know what? We all have amazing gifts. We all have amazing talents. And there are people that have these powerful gifts, but I think we have to be careful of that. We have to be really careful of that. With us moving into the age of Aquarius, you will see the boundaries breaking more and more from old traditional religious values. And you might think, oh, hallelujah, get rid of that. Well, I come from the Pluto and Virgo generation. I like to keep my feet on the ground just a little bit. All tradition is not bad. If you look back even in the story of Jesus at 12 years old, he started his traditional training. Many of us have traditional religious backgrounds that may have kept us safe, may have kept us structured. We relied on them to tell us when to go, when to stop. We relied on those rules. But as we become an adult, and as we become freer spiritually, we know those rules have value, and we don't need somebody to force them on us anymore, or we can begin to live the life with those values. So we don't throw them all away just because we come out of maybe a more traditional background. It doesn't mean we throw those values away. It just means that we know how to live them in our everyday life. We don't need somebody to keep us structured to do right, or to have values, or have a spiritual life. For many of us, it just becomes a part of our everyday life that we're seeking, and it should, if that job was done right, and we begin to embrace that. Just because you maybe have opened up to a new way, it doesn't mean all that's bad. It just means that you're growing. And if you look in astrology, all of us go through a spiritual transition as we go through our first Saturns, and as we move into our North Node. If you think about it, you take your South Node, you come in with one way of thinking into a life that you're working out in those first 30 years or so. And we go through a transition where we start to see the opposite, the other side. And, it's hard, and we're a lot of times lost. A lot of people, when they lose that structure in their life, they get lost out in the sea of spirituality. And there's something on every corner, you guys. There's something on every corner right now. You know it. Keep it in perspective. keep it in perspective. You know, like I said, what you're listening to, something, the tools that you can take with you, and that you can have a thought on your own, that somebody hasn't diagnosed you, that somebody hasn't, you know, through a video, you know, told you, you know, what you are, and torn you down. Don't let it happen. Don't do it, because we can tear ourselves down enough. More than that, I just feel like there's a lot of, it's very important for teachers to have integrity and compassion and understanding that bringing truth can be very difficult to people, and little pieces of truth that we can all take in and start to self-reflect, and then we'll come back for another piece, and we'll come back for another piece, and we'll come back for another piece as we process. You know, like I said, look at your surroundings, look at the group settings you're in right now, because on every corner, you know, there's this new social media platform. You know, these YouTube channels, and then pretty soon there's the group pages, and pretty soon there's this, and pretty soon there's that. And, you know, never before is this going to be as out there. I'm sorry, I wanted to think of a better word, is rampant. Because never before has the average person been able to express themselves in a public venue. Okay, I mean, this is very powerful stuff. So if you are somebody out here like me and other teachers and other astrologers, I have a lot of astrology friends. I'm just gonna say, you know, check it. You know, keep a check on your own intentions and what your goal is, what your mission is, and, you know, what type of audience do you want? Because you'll find that if you look at a lot of these channels, the audience almost becomes blinded by, you know, the delusion of these people. And I think right now, remember, we've got Neptune and Pisces retrograde, so it's really strong right now. A lot of delusion is in the air, and the ability to get sucked into these things, okay? November, Neptune will go forward, and we'll see a little clearer. So if you've been in something and you're having red flags, in the next month or so here, you might start seeing and feeling like, oh my gosh, I just got sucked into that. Hey, I've been sucked into all kinds of crazy community things. So I'm talking from experience, not really sharing the depth of my story here. Maybe I will another time, but you do have to be careful. So I'm talking from experience. Okay, there's a strong theme right now of the victim savior role with Neptune and Pisces. That'll go on for the next 10 years. This theme that we need a savior. You know, we're still all wanting a savior. Somebody save us. We're changing so much, and the rules are changing, but a lot of people are lost, and they're having a crisis of faith, and so they're very vulnerable to somebody pulling them in. And all I'm going to say is that if you're in that position right now and you're having a crisis of faith, do the work. Yes, go out there and search and see and feel and find what feels right for you. But, you know, and you might really watch something and that most of it feels really good, and every once in a while something in it might just disturb you. Even if it disturbs you, there might be a reason, and maybe it'd be a good idea to look at that. You know, it's okay for someone to challenge you a little bit and get you thinking and have some debate even within your own mind. All that's healthy. But, you know, again, make sure at the end of the day, you know, you're hearing your own voice. If you've lost your own voice, then I would say that's the #1 red flag here. So, in closing, you know, I'm not gonna say any names right now, because in my research, a few people have stood up against a few of these scenarios out there in the real concern for the followers, and already starting to see the crumbling of some of these channels. I'm talking about YouTube platforms. But I'm just going to tell you, you know, that they are out there, okay? And, you know, decide what part you want to play in these roles, and be careful. Be careful. Ask yourself those questions. The other thing is, take a look at their chart. Take a look at this leader's chart. What are you seeing in this chart? Is there anything that's standing out to you? This might be if you're really in deep in one of these situations, maybe you need a professional astrologer to help you through it. Get the help. Because, when they break down your identity and they break down your voice and they break down your own intuition, you start questioning yourself. Something must be wrong with me because I'm not agreeing with this almighty person. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. So, don't just blindly follow. Okay, this is a time for everybody now to do the work they need to do for their own personal journey in life. So, I don't know. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, comment below. If you're interested in getting in a class with me on these subjects, let me know at crystallyn68gmail.com or cowgirlastrologer.com. You can find me, send me a message, and we'll put something together. All right. So have an awesome day, you guys, and I hope to hear some comments on this. All right. Talk to you later.